MPWiK in Wrocław is one of the biggest municipal water and wastewater utilities in Poland. We have about 800 employees and operate and maintain about 5,000 kilometers of pipes. We can see continuous increase in the importance of the CIO function. 10 years ago, it was a role which provided support services. Now it is often a role which co-creates new businesses. Nowadays, it is very important to empower teams and showing how our work changes the environment around us. Be a good leader and take care about your team. There is no leader's success without the team success.
This is CIONET TV. My name is Hendrik Dekkers. I'm here today with Piotr Słomianny, who is the CIO and CFO of MPWiK in Wrocław, Poland. A very warm welcome, Piotr.
Hello, Hendrik. Hello, CIONET TV.
Piotr, you have a Master in Finance, IT and Management from the Wrocław University of Technology. You have worked for 11 years at MPWiK in different positions, and you were nominated CIO in 2015 and CFO in 2017. So Piotr, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you really? What's your background and how did you arrive in this position?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. It is a real pleasure to be here and share experience with others. As you mentioned, I have graduated two universities, University of Technology and University of Economics, both in the beautiful Wrocław in Poland. I started my career in MPWiK in Wrocław, which is water and wastewater company. I joined the company in 2011 after I became one of the winners of the Talent Academy. It was something like talent show, but for young students who wanted to start their career dynamically. This competition was organized by the University of Economics. I think it was a very interesting initiative because it combined the business and academic worlds. I believed that I would be able to have a real impact on how this company would look like in the future, that I wouldn't be just a small part of a big machine. So I started as an intern, but from the beginning I always thought how to join IT department. After a few promotions, I did it, and I was promoted as the CIO. But fortunately, it didn't stop my career, because after next 2 years, I also was appointed as the CFO, and now I am responsible for 6 departments: IT and OT, Business Excellence Team, Finance and Controlling, Accounting, Public Procurement, Geographic Information System Department. So it gives me great variety in my work, and I enjoy it so much.
Okay, and how would you describe MPWiK in a couple of sentences? You say water and wastewater. Tell us a little bit how big, a couple of numbers, what the organization is all about.
So let's start with some basic facts about our company. MPWiK in Wrocław is one of the biggest municipal water and wastewater utilities in Poland. Last year we celebrated the 115th anniversary. We have about 800 employees and operate and maintain about 5,000 kilometers of pipes. It is like distance from Wrocław to Dublin and back. But I would like to highlight that we founded the Hydropolis Institute, which is the education center that is totally focused on just one subject, of water. We designed there 9 unique zones in a 4,000 meters squared area with just one purpose: to inform the public about how important water is. And we teach there how people can save water. In addition to water treatment and wastewater collection, we also commercialize software, which we developed with our partners. In this model, we share our know-how, for example, how to detect a hidden leakage. And our partners transform this knowledge into software. At the end of this kind of project, both parties become the owners of the rights to the license which we sell together. So this model of cooperation helps us to implement new solutions in a cost-effective way and to spread them into our industry.
Piotr, in the MPWiK or in the water industry in general, what are the drivers for change? What are the challenges for your organization today?
So nowadays, the key driver is the climate change. This challenge is particularly visible and distressing in our industry. In recent years, water consumption in Wrocław has been increasing while the availability of raw water has been going down. This may be surprising that in a city with 7 rivers and over 100 bridges, we have the challenge with limited sources of fresh water. But most of the rivers are very polluted and not sustainable for the water purification process. In response of this, we introduced the extensive water losses reduction program. This is one of the most important programs where we use all the latest technologies such as automatic meter reading, IoT network, cloud computing, and AI to minimize water losses. All of our efforts resulted in reducing the water losses below 10%, which make us one of the top waterworks companies in Europe in water losses ratio. Our vision is to reduce water losses to 0% by 2040, but before that happens, we have a plan how to reduce our water losses to 6.5% by the end of 2026.
Okay, so climate change means that water is becoming more and more a scarce resource, and so treating that well, making sure that you don't lose it, fixing the leakage problems is a top priority for you. And I understand for that you have implemented the Smart Flow program, correct?
Correct. So Smart Flow is exactly the countermeasure to the biggest challenge of our organization. It is a response to bigger demand for water with limited access to the raw water. The added value of this project is that we can build a leading position in the industry by providing software for the waterworks companies. So as I mentioned, we commercialize software jointly with our partners, and I'm fully convinced that development of value co-creation ecosystem is the next step in the development of economics, and through Smart Flow we realize this vision.
So Smart Flow is the solution, but how did it exactly solve the water leakage problem? So
the Smart Flow system is using devices which monitor water flow and pressure in 35 zones in Wrocław. The system provides 24 hours and 7 days a week information on water distribution system and analyze potential failure what are on our water network. This system can detect even hidden leakages in our water network. According to the International Water Association, they can develop approximately 180 days before become visible. Now we can detect them after just 5 days. So I will give you more details about that. Smart Flow system receives data on over 200,000 variables from over 60,000 devices, including over 1,500 noise loggers, which listen for sounds generated by hidden leakages during night. All data is sent to the cloud, where it's properly processed and made available to the operators in the control room. So they just get notification with the ready-made information showing in which zone a hidden leak is probably developing. Now we want to make this system even more accurate, and we are working on installing of a stationary system for remote reading. We use water meters with IoT modules. We decided to choose the LoRaWAN technology. Now 12,000 water meters with LoRaWAN communication modules are currently installed. And our aim is to install 70,000 water meters by 2025. This is the biggest smart city project in Poland, which using the LoRaWAN network on such a large scale. And after implementing smart flow and using data from it, we plan to reduce water losses to 6.5%.
Okay.
And I have to mention that the successful implementation of smart flow helped us to take a step further, and we start commercialization this software. And what is the result? Currently, 16 licenses of smart flow have been already sold, and different cities can save water and money together with us. And the last thing I have to say that this and other projects can only be implemented through the tremendous commitment of different areas of our company, such as network operation, customer service, new technology center, and IT department. And I have to say that it also wouldn't be possible without support of our reliable partners that provide software developing skills. And I'd like to say thank you, for commitment and our for all our teams and partners.
Okay. So it sounds like, Piotr, that IT, which is typically a cost center, is becoming a profit center then. If you're selling it, if you already sold 16 licenses, is that the goal as well, to become a profit center, to make money with this?
As a CFO, I always keep eyes on the result. So, of course, this is just one of our aims. This is not our main aim. Of course, our main aim is to save water and minimize water losses. But if we can earn some money, so why not? Why we shouldn't do that?
Okay. So SmartFlow, you already talked a little bit about it. But what are the real tangible results of this program? So
the most important result was that we reduced our water loss below 10%. So we saved 1,700,000 cubic liters of water. Also, we have shortened the time of data preparation for operators in the control room from 1 month to 4 hours. And finally, we can save about 1.5 million euro on programming services and licenses.
Okay, wow, very impressive, Piotr. So does that mean that you also had to run a digital transformation program in the organization to make sure that all this could happen?
Yes, it could happen when I was appointed as the CIO. But before that, I had solved a lot of problems and burning issues.
Piotr, let's talk about the digital transformation program that you have implemented with your teams in MPWiK. What was really the problem? What was the burning issue?
I think the problems were rather standard, but the accumulation of them at one time made the challenge unique. That time we had, as I can say it, very standardized silo architecture of IT systems, where we had over 30 really big systems, and those systems have numerous modifications what caused difficulties in upgrading them. Another very serious problem was very low satisfaction with internal IT services. We started measuring internal NPS, and it was 51, but minus 51. So the last not least big problem which I met was that project managers who were responsible for IT projects, they were from IT department, and it caused a lot of bottlenecks in projects.
So Piotr, the issue was that you have 30 different systems, all in different silos, not talking to each other and so on. So how did you solve that, and who was involved in creating solution for that?
I think it was easier for me because I have been promoted to the position of the CIO within the organization. So I knew our systems, our organization very well. I also was familiar with the EFQM management model and ITIL practices. It helped me a lot during the transformation. I started with creating a plan for the digital information of the company and aligned it with the company's strategy. On the next step, together with my new IT manager, we started complete rebuilding of the IT division, dividing it into smaller teams. We changed the project management model from waterfall to agile or mixed approach for bigger projects. Finally, I replaced the silo architecture with the service-oriented architecture. At the same time, we appointed business owners of IT systems and in many cases trained them as project managers. In this process, we were guided by openness and dialogue. This enabled us to introduce changes in a very fast and effective way. These activities and the right mindset, because this is very important, gave us a strong foundation for the new innovative projects and high capacity to do them, to implement them. And we started implement technologies as RPA, BPMS, AI, and IoT.
Okay.
And we wanted to more, and we wanted to expand our capacity even more. So we started building strong partnership with IT companies, and jointly with our partners, we started creating an ecosystem, and in which we started co-creating solution for our sector. So we created more solution than just SmartFlow with our partners.
Okay, that's quite a complete transformation that you have done of the IT organization, the way of working, and so on and so on. How would you describe the results? What are really the tangible results of this program?
The initiatives that we have done always had smart business goals. So it is easy for us to relate to the results. And I give a few examples which we achieved. Firstly, and I think one of the most impressive, after the implementation of field force automation system, the efficiency of the field teams increased by more than 22%. They had to start their work immediately when they arrived because they have all the needed information on their tablets now. Secondly, we saved 2.5 million euro by co-creating IT systems with our partners. And the last but not least, the NPS of the internal IT department services changed from -51 to 37, plus 37, so almost 90 points.
So Piotr, how big is MPWiK in total number of people? How big is the IT and OT organization? And what's the operating model? How have you organized IT and OT in your company?
We have IT and OT department with one manager. So these two areas cooperate very, very close. And IT team consists of 20 people, and OT team is even bigger. There are 22 members. But from my perspective, the most important decision was combine the IT and OT teams. Currently, we can see the trend to convergence, those two words, and mutual understanding. IT and OT teams is also necessary when we want to ensure an appropriate level of cybersecurity. Of course, by combining these two areas, I mean people and competences, not the physical connection between OT and IT networks. This organization of the department also helps to build effective analytical environment, an environment which combining production and business data. In the past, several times it turned out that we had the same sensors but different data at the end of the day. And it was caused by the different structure of OT and IT database. And when we work together, we can eliminate those kind of mistakes. And the second idea, which I would like to point out, is that the business analysts are most in each of business department, not just from IT department, and it allows us to collect business needs and description of system requirements better and faster. And it results more efficient project management and faster implementation of IT projects.
Okay. And do you have any programs in place to become more data driven? And are you using artificial intelligence in your organization?
Yes, we have, because in recent years we have delivered several hundred dashboards that present results and analysis to our employees, and this data come from many systems and sensors that we have installed. And for example, to optimize electricity consumption, we use data from more than over 200 electricity meters. And sometimes I have the impression that we have measured everything we could, but it created a challenge with too much data. So we have been implementing data governance and data management system, which bases on cloud solution. And it enabled us to deliver relevant data for making business decision even faster than before. And we could introduce some AI projects which use data from this one big warehouse which is located on cloud. But without the leaders' focus on data-driven decision, even the best systems will do nothing. And this is the reason why we conduct workshops on analytical needs every year. We also constantly work on the data quality because we see that without trusting the data, employees will not use it.
Okay. And could you give an example of maybe one of the most, the coolest applications that you have, or the coolest domains for artificial intelligence in a water and a water waste company?
Yes, I think the coolest one is cooperation with startup from Ukraine, but they set up a company in Great Britain, and they helped us to detect breaks or damages inside our sewage pipes. So we have small robots, and these robots record videos inside pipes. And our operators had to point out some breaks and sometimes roots or different strange data which you can find in pipes. And now we send these movies on the cloud, and there is a software which recognizes all of kinds anomalies inside. So we can save a lot of time because our operators don't have to do that now. And the result is better than before when people did it.
Yeah. So you've made a big change in how IT is organized, and the results speak for itself. So how would you describe today fundamentally your role as CIO? And maybe a derived question on that is also, is it useful, is it interesting that you combine the role of CIO and CFO, but let's first talk about your role as CIO. What is fundamentally your role today?
I think that the fundamental role now is giving inspiration, giving vision, and help to execute them, and as well as motivate our teams. Because I think the best thing which I can do to create motivating teams which will follow the vision and they will believe this vision.
And how would you? And does it help you to have the combination of CIO and CFO? Does that make life easier for you than compared maybe to other companies?
I think it is easier for company because I can focus on business goals, goals which will bring benefits. Because sometimes as the CIO, I want to, I think every CIO sometimes has this feeling, have the best things, yes, the best of the breed.
Yep.
But the question is, it is the best for the company, it is you will achieve the best result if you will use. So this is, I think, very useful because it always helps me to keep my eyes on the goal.
Yeah. And
goals.
If you look at your role as CIO today and you would compare to typically a role of a CIO 10 years ago, how has that role evolved and maybe also looking forward? How do you see the role of the CIO evolving in the future?
In this area, we can see continuous increase in the importance of the CIO function. I think that maybe 10 years ago, it was a role which mostly, not always, but mostly provided support services. Now it is often a role which co-creates new businesses. So I think in our organization, the combined role of CFO and CIO helps to create an innovative ecosystem of software co-creation for us and our industry.
Okay. Now, Piotr, you run, as I understand, 6 different teams, right? From procurement to IT and so on and so on. So how would you describe your management style? How is it that you make these teams, that you build them and make these teams successful?
Yeah, so I have a lot of areas, so I have to use different management styles, depending on situation and people. I believe that this flexibility allows me to achieve the best results. When I create something new, I need to be open-minded and inspire others. But on the other hand, there is sometimes we have situations there we don't have enough time for discussions, and I have to act quickly and make decision rapidly. So I think that I can switch between few management styles.
Okay, great. So you have a good system of attracting and keeping your good talent. And that has to do with management style, of course, but that also has to do with leadership. So how would you describe your personal leadership style? And can you give an example?
So definitely, I don't like conflicts. I think there are better and more efficient ways to spend our energy with better results. I also try to find best solution by involving others, but when it is necessary, I can make a quick decision. And all my managers repeat that I am a leader with a vision, and I try to be a few steps ahead of others. I am very proud of my team because without them, I couldn't turn it into reality.
Okay, and what do you think, if I would go around and ask the people in your teams, what do you think they will say about you when you're not around? Of course you don't know, but what do you think they will say about you when you're not there?
So I can say, I hope that my colleagues often talk about projects which we implement and vision that we follow. Probably from few of them, you can hear that we aren't ready for some changes, but they know that I won't let it go. Sometimes this causes resistance, and voices that I want to implement too many new projects too quickly. On the other hand, I work with people with whom we complement each other perfectly. I have vision, I inspire and motivate my colleagues, and they execute it, and so even more important, they ensure operational continuity of our business.
Okay, and what is it, Piotr, that really drives you in your work? What is it, and in your life in general? What is it? What's the driving force behind everything that you do?
Nowadays, we have enormous opportunities that no one had before us.
Correct.
I don't want to sound like a Miss Universe, but my motivation is very simple. I would like to use these possibilities and new technologies to make the world a better place to live. And I do it at home, at work, in my garden. So I believe that everyone can do it, no matter how much influence they have. Basically, you can do this by sorting rubbish, smiling at others, and of course, you can save water, even if you don't develop and commercialize the software which helps to do it.
Okay, great. Now, let's go one level deeper and let's talk a little bit more about yourself. We talked about you as a manager, as a leader, and what drives you, but let's talk about your personality. So you shared with us that your MBTI personality type is you're an ENTJ, right? And an ENTJ is also known as a commander, and this is somebody with the extroverted, intuitive, thinking and judging personality traits. And these are typically decisive people who love momentum, they love accomplishments, and they gather information to construct their creative vision, but rarely hesitate for long before they act on them. So, Piotr, what I'm going to do is I'm going to present you with a couple of typical strengths of people with this profile, and then you tell me if that fits the bill, if you recognize yourself in them. So, typically commanders, people with an ENTJ profile, their strengths is that they are efficient, that they are energetic, self-confident, that they're strong-willed, strategic thinkers, and charismatic and inspiring. Which of these words resonate best with you, and can you talk a bit about that?
So I can see a picture of me when you told about these characteristics, and I think that I agree with all of them because I make decisions quickly. I think I'm very efficient in my activities, but I think that this profile, the combination of these qualities is important because it gives advantage and create the ability to prepare a vision with the possibility to transform it into reality. So I think this personality profile is a very good balance between making a vision, inspiring people, and the execution of vision of business goals.
Well, it's a profile that we run into a lot within digital leadership. So it's a typical profile for a leader. Now there's some potential pitfalls because every coin has two sides. So there's also the dark side of the commander, the ENTJ profile. And so I'm going to give you a couple of weaknesses that sometimes people with this personality profile have. And then I would like to ask you if you recognize maybe one or two of them and how you have overcome these weaknesses, how you have turned them into domains for self-improvement. So typically people with your profile, they can be stubborn and dominant. They are sometimes intolerant, they're sometimes impatient, they can be arrogant, they can be poor in handling of emotions, and they're sometimes very cold and ruthless. So of all of these, where do you recognize yourself and how do you work on that? How have you worked on that? How do you overcome your weaknesses?
I believe the most important thing is to be aware of your weaknesses. And if you have a team that can fill those gaps, it is always very helpful. My team, I think it is this kind of team, because I can give one example. When my visions start to get unrealistic, I can be sure that my team will tell me about that and explain why we have to change something. And if I did something wrong, so I always can count that they tell me. So this is the openness, yes, the atmosphere of openness.
Okay.
And what can I do more? Knowing about my weaknesses, I started studying psychology, because in my opinion, good leaders will have to be more and more like good psychologists.
Okay. So, Piotr, do you have a personal mantra, a saying that you use, and how do you use that?
So, that, just 2 words. Be calm. I believe that we have always solutions, even from the most difficult situation. I can quote one answer from my 360-degree assessment. And it sounds like, emotions don't control Piotr. Piotr controls emotions. I think this approach helped my teams in difficult situations, because they always know that they can come to me even with the most difficult problem, and we together find not just one, even more just one solution.
Okay. Now let's go one level deeper. We talked about your personality and your personal mantra, and that you always stay calm and your strengths and so on. So, but if we go one level deeper, what are the core values that you live by, and what are the values that are really important? And can you give a couple of examples there?
I think sometimes is a problem because we have too many core values. So I chose just 2. Openness and engagement. Because if we have openness in the team, we won't get to that end. Because your team, your family won't be afraid to point out some weak points of your idea or of your decision. And if we engagement, and we can use this at our personal life and our working life, we will be able to do almost everything.
Piotr, in your life, who is it that you look up to? And do you have any mentors that are important in your life, and maybe can give an example of that?
I think mentors are always important, and my mentors were different at different stages of my development. So I try to have people who are role models for me in certain areas. So following that thought, when I think about building an inspirational vision, I think about Elon Musk. When I think about starving for perfection, this is obvious maybe, but I think about Steve Jobs. But when I need to motivate my team, I wonder how Nelson Mandela would behave. I think this approach gives me best from certain people, and thanks to that, I can create my own leadership style.
You're clearly very successful. You have accomplished great things in your organization. You did a big transformation, very successful programs. But I'm sure that you also had your setbacks. So I'm going to challenge you with this question. So we all make our mistakes. And if you look back, which was your most brilliant mistake? What is the thing that your mistake, and also what did you learn from that?
I'm not sure it was a mistake, but I can share with you about one moment, which was definitely a key moment in my life. So I started talking a little bit about this story because this is a story about talent academy competition. And the fact is that when I signed up for this competition, I wasn't thinking about finding an internship. I was thinking about finding the investor for the startup which I wanted to set up. But it turned out that this competition is not for startups, but I completed all 4 levels of this competition and became one of the winners. And finally, I could choose an internship, not investor, but in any of the companies that participated in this program. As you know, I chose MPWiK, where I got promoted very fast and I gave up the idea of startup. It was a moment when my career could have turned out completely different, but I don't regret my choice, and there is still room and time for startups.
So, Piotr, if you take a step back and look at yourself and look at your life, what is it that you love most? What is it that you fear most in your life?
I start with what I love the most. I am crazy about improvements and the automation of activities that we don't have to do ourselves.
Okay.
This is one of reasons why we use BPMS and RPA solution so intensively. So we have a golden rule: if we enter data into the system, no one shouldn't put this data again. Also, I love traveling and discovering new places, people, technologies. It always gives me a lot of inspirations. I am very curious about the world. In this aspect, I feel like a child all the time.
Piotr, that's what you love most, but what is it that you fear most?
Maybe I am not afraid about that, but I am definitely worried that our civilization is developing at very different pace. For example, in some places like Wroclaw, we implement wireless water meter reading using LoRa and IoT things. But we have to remember and we have to be aware that on our planet over 2 billion people still don't have access to drinking water. And I think such huge disproportions may cause even more conflicts in the future.
Okay. Piotr, you're clearly hardworking, very efficient, driven professional, but how is it that you relax? What is it that you do outside of work?
So outside of work, I like long evening walks, and additionally, I consider that our brains are the greatest asset. So I try to take care of it. I jog regularly, keep a well-balanced diet, and every day I take more than 10,000 steps. And finally, I love contact with nature, so I enjoy spending time in my garden with wife and dogs.
Okay. We're coming to the end of this interview, Piotr, so thank you for your time and for sharing everything. And so I would like to finish with the question. There's typically a lot of young people that watch these videos and they're interested to see how they could follow in your footsteps. So what advice would you give to young digital professionals that are ambitious and that also want to become a CIO? What is it that you can share with them?
So I think it's very important to show your engagement, but it should be a smart commitment. What does it mean? If you are involved in an initiative or project, you should always ask yourself, what is the goal? What do you want to achieve with this? Then during the implementation phase, check if you and your team are actually approaching this goal. If you can see that further action will not allow you to achieve the goal, just leave it. Explain that you should stop this activity. This will allow you to focus on things that are really important and which bring value. What more? Don't be afraid to engage in new initiatives. If you make a mistake, take it as a lesson and don't do the same mistake. Last but not least, be a good leader and take care about your team. When you start your career, when you are rushing after successes, you can forget about your team building activities. But please remember, there is no leader's success without the team success.
Okay.
In conclusion, be involved, brave, open-minded, and take care of your team.
So, Piotr, on this great note, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing this, and I would say cheers. Let's have a glass of your clear water, and I look forward to meeting you in the future.
Thank you, and I hope we will see soon face to face.
Thank you.